Hello and welcome to Our Time.
Great to have your company once again.
Yes,
Janice,
it is. Yes.
What's on this episode of Our Time?
Look, we have some old friends of ours actually, Dean Taylor and Joy, his wife.
No friends of mine.
Yes, they are.
They are, but we also have, and you'll remember Dean from television quite some years ago, and you know, all over Australia there are festivals. There's festivals for arts festivals. Here in South Australia we have the Adelaide Festival of Arts. We also have the Fringe Festival.
Yes.
There's the Comedy Festival in Melbourne, and there's the same in Sydney and Brisbane and Perth. They have their festival. But in the middle of the year, we have in South Australia a bit of a unique festival called the Cabaret Festival.
And
you're a cabaret queen.
well, I've done a bit of cabaret work myself many years ago.
In Moulin Rouge in Paris.
I did. I sang there.
But one of the issues with all of the moving festivals throughout the world is local people don't always get an opportunity to be part of the festival. And here in South Australia, we have the Cab Fest. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it. And Eugene Sulo is here tonight.
Sulo.
Sorry, Eugene.
That's correct. That's all right.
I've known Eugene for so long, and we just had this conversation. I never knew how to pronounce your surname.
It's all right.
Say it 6 times slowly so that everybody...
Sulo.
It's such a lovely, because your father was French.
Indeed, yes. Indeed he was.
And Eugene, you're the coordinator of this local Fringe
Cab
Festival.
Fringe, that's right.
Fringe.
Yes, correct, yes.
Why? Why is there one, apart from what I just said?
Well, I think the reason is exactly what you said. The Cabaret Fringe was created to give local cabaret artists an opportunity to have their work seen. So when the Cabaret Festival started in the early 2000s, you might remember the great room we had here, the Weimar Room, which used to be on Harley Street.
Where Hans began, actually, or Matt Gilbertson, who's been on the show.
Exactly right. And the Cabaret Fringe started there, so all the acts, all the events were on at that particular venue. And it gave an opportunity for local cabaret artists like Hans, like Matt, to have their work seen.
But having said that, the Cabaret Festival here in South Australia is really about the government-owned theatre here in South Australia, which is the Adelaide Festival Centre and Her Majesty's.
That's right, yes.
So this is an offshoot from the Cabaret Festival. It is the Fringe is something for South Australian performers.
Absolutely. We do have a couple of interstate people come, which I guess is evidence that interstate artists are looking at Adelaide and going, oh, okay, yes, I can go there. I can have my work seen as well.
Yep.
I'm an independent performer. Let's go to Adelaide and let's have my work seen.
Okay.
So the thing is, with cabaret, maybe we should just talk about your background before we move into what cabaret actually is. Mm-hmm. Tell us about you, Eugene.
I'm a trained actor. I did my training at the old Centre for the Performing Arts, which has now morphed into AC Arts. I graduated at the end of 1993, and since then I've been working both as a performer. I worked at Adelaide Fringe for 7 festivals.
So you really know the background of how to put this together?
Definitely. Well, I hope so, at least.
You and? Is there a group of you? How many? Is it just you?
Cabaret Fringe is just me. It's a one-man show.
Wow.
But I do have the support of Paul Boylan. He runs La Boheme, the venue, and he was the person who restarted Cabaret Fringe roughly 10 years ago after it had a couple of years in a hiatus.
Oh, okay.
So there are other local venues around Adelaide and around the suburbs that are in fact now running as venues for this. So that's
right, yes.
It's giving everybody another bite of the cherry, and it's also giving the public another perspective as to what's available to see. Now, for those of you who've never been to a cabaret show, first of all, you should explain what is cabaret.
Well, we define cabaret as a performer who is telling a story. So that might be they're a singer, they might be telling a story through dance, they might be a stand-up comedian. It doesn't matter. So cabaret encompasses a wide range of artistic pursuits.
But also it's usually held in a venue where you can buy a drink. Or
I was
maybe
about to say that. It's more like...
Well, why didn't you?
I'm sorry, I know. I can't get a word in on you. But it is more a relaxed atmosphere, isn't it? It's not like a theatre, sit down. You actually can sit at tables and have a glass of wine. And
you can, but that's not to say that you can't have a cabaret show that is held in a theatre. It's the quality of the show rather than just the venue.
And
I
it
think.
came out of political satire, and in France is where it sort of began, and Germany, which is quite interesting. So let's have a look at a cabaret performer in her own situation. This was shot in Perth, I think.
Yes, this is Jen Deness. She's from Perth, and she's coming again. This is her second time.
Fantastic.
And the beauty of this is it can be a live band, it can be a single singer with perhaps a piano. Let's just have a listen to her. And the beauty of this is that it can be a mixture of just a single performer telling the story, as you said before. It can be a musical thing, it can be a comedy thing, it can be a combination of all of those things.
That's right.
It can be satirical, it can be perhaps the story of somebody's life in music, and you've done that.
Oh, I did do that. I should bring that to life
Maybe
again.
you should. Janice did a great show.
Yes, indeed. You can, definitely.
Yes, but based on the life of
Julie Andrews.
because you sort of sound like her.
Well, you think so.
Well,
She's very kind, but he does.
Yes, but no, you do sound like her. But the point is, you've got a lovely story, really telling her life story from a book, and all of the influences she had, and a lot of people work on that. Eugene, the other thing is, I suppose, where do people find out about this? Because if you are living interstate and you don't know that these things exist,
the easiest thing to do is to go onto the internet. So www.cabaretfringefestival.com, and you'll find out all you need to know about it.
How long does the program go? How many days?
3 weeks, just over 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So
That's a fair amount of time.
That's right. Yes.
Fantastic.
and not only that, but that same web address is where you can book tickets.
Definitely,
if you
yes.
want to come and see the shows, and there's a great layout online of all the different shows that are on,
Yes, that's
with
right.
a bit of an explanation, so you can just click on that and book your tickets while you're there. Has that changed the booking of tickets thing for everybody, the fact that it's so easy to book online?
Well, Adelaide audiences are notorious for booking late, so it certainly does make it easier, but it depends. A lot of older people still prefer to ring up because they might not necessarily be comfortable using a computer. They might not want to have their credit card details, put their credit card details in. So,
But it's a very safe site you're using, because you're using
yes.
Try Booking to book.
Yes, it's completely secure. But if you want to ring up, then we also have the option of making telephone bookings as well.
Okay. Nice
Well,
to
if
know.
you live in South Australia, it doesn't matter really wherever you look, supporting your local performers is the thing that makes the world go round.
Well, we'd like some support. We always look for support.
I'm
Here we are,
wearing
we're
mine
local.
tonight. The point is, though, if you're going to see somebody who's local, they know your story as well. Because of where you live. So they in fact can include things that we get that nobody else gets. So I think that's the great value of going and seeing a local performer. Eugene, great luck with the festival, and I hope it goes well.
Yes,
It begins
1st of June.
and goes for 3 weeks.
That's right, 26th of June is the final night.
In a venue near you in South Australia, and if you're coming to Adelaide, come and join us. Thanks so much, and we'll be back in a tick with Dean Taylor. Welcome back.
Yes.
Not that we went
Welcome
anywhere.
back.
Oh, thank you very
It's
much. Hey, Janice,
Yes.
watch this closely. Do you know who this guy is?
Well, you're there. And Robin's there. Who's under all that hair?
That's a good question. This is a clip from the Channel 9ers from, oh gosh, 30-something years ago, 35 years ago, I suspect. And we have the other person with us right now. Welcome, Dean Taylor.
Dean without
The hair's gone.
the hair. Thank goodness there. We see your face now.
You know, it's funny because back then we had no budget on that show.
Yeah.
It had like 2 and 6 every show sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we used to get you in to do anything and everything.
Yeah, I think the wig actually was one of the studio cats.
So Dean Taylor is an artist extraordinaire, and extraordinaire is the true word, because we've known each other for a long time. We were just talking about when that was. How old were you?
17.
And your great desire in life then was to paint John Martin's pageant.
Yeah, I'd actually had a job as a ticket writer at Myers.
Yep.
When, you did tickets, men's shoes, $2.99, that kind of thing. But in about the first 5 minutes, they discovered I was left-handed and drew upside down quite badly. So I was just smudging everything. So they very kindly suggested that I might be better in another department. And I moved into the display department, started doing props for windows and in-store displays, things like that. And once I got a taste for that, I thought I really want to work at the pageant.
Which you did.
Which I did for 3 or 4 years.
And worked with some interesting people there.
Amazing people, yeah. It was just like...
It was Gary, wasn't it? Gary Gaston?
Gary Gaston, and who still does the pageant, and Anton Reby, who was a fellow of the Royal Society of Watercolours, and just really top-end, high-end people.
Inspiring to you, was it?
Oh, every day. It was incredible.
And the good thing was, I was producing then the Channel 9ers and on telly here in South Australia, and we needed somebody to do something, and Mr. Squiggle was very famous at the time, and somebody in the hierarchy of Nine said, well, why don't you get him to do those cartoony things he does? So we invented a segment called Scratch and Scrawl.
I remember that so
There you go.
well.
Which kind of grew from when we were painting theatre scenery. And if I was ahead of you or you were ahead of me with whatever we were doing...
Including the rude things you'd write on the back of flats.
That's it.
That only I could see.
But they would be there, they wouldn't be there 1 second, and then you'd come around and then it would be there.
Yeah,
and you said, well, if you can do them that quick, could you do it on television?
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah.
It was your lovely sense of humour that's a visual sense of humour as well as you.
Yeah,
being able
and using up all the paint in your brush.
to change colour for the next thing. But because you're on telly, this was one of those extraordinary stories that when you look back, you think, how did this happen? We had Bill Hanna from Hanna-Barbera on the program. And I figured, Dean's a cartoonist, this man invented all of these TV shows, put the two together and see what happened. What happened was...
He gave me a job.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
took him away.
I think we started out, to be honest, I didn't know it was him to be in. I couldn't make the connection because you remember we were going live, and I walked in at 5 to 4, ready to go at 4, and they said, a bit of a change of plan today. Bill Hanna's on the program, and I thought, brilliant, whoever that is. And it wasn't until he was actually kind of walking through the darkness of the studio, I'm thinking, Bill Hanna, Bill Hanna, Bill Hanna. And he sat down, and the light went on the camera, I went, Bill Hanna. And I literally made the connection right there.
And what I'd ask you to do was to just do like a cartoon character, invent a cartoon character, and ask him how to improve it.
Yeah.
And he just kept saying, that's
Couldn't
perfect.
improve it.
Yeah. Couldn't improve it.
Wow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Isn't that,
incredible?
yeah, really.
But then he offered you a job in Sydney.
Yeah.
And then your world started to open after that. Let's have a look at some of your work. Perhaps you can just explain what the sequence of what these things are.
Yeah, these are a little out of order. This is a still from The Nightmare Before Christmas, a Tim Burton film that I was the art director on. And this is how we used to have to draw every shot. It's not quite storyboard because I was art director, but we would draw setups. And then, the different departments would follow on, the puppet makers, the set builders. So this is kind of a nice rough, just to capture the spirit of that scene.
Right.
So, and this, again, the little character over there on screen left is Oogie Boogie. And we were trying to figure out what his world would look like, which was sort of a fun palace gambling theme. And this is a project of my own. And this sketch happened on a plane. I just thought, I need to make a project of my own and develop it. And I just want to have a project of conscience.
So it starts this simply.
It starts that simply. Well, so she's now developed into this. But that first Post-it note sketch was, I thought, she crossed the River of Wishes. I don't know who she is, why, didn't matter. I thought I'm going to create a project that has absolutely no agenda, but I want it to have a conscience. So then another Post-it note, she reached the rocks of indecision.
Which was that last one?
Yeah, and then gradually build it until I had 40 or 50 Post-it notes on the back seat of the plane. and at that time I was flying back and forth on a project in Berlin. It turned out to be 40 international flights. So I would use that time to develop the project.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this final artwork you're looking at now is the much later stages of those post-it note sketches.
And this is what you'd see on the screen.
Yes.
Now, animation is generally put in the logic of children.
This isn't.
This isn't.
No. Again, in an interest to break the mould, I thought, what if you actually took a theme that I really care about, which is, you know, a number of them, but the biggest one is greed. I think it's at the basis of all problems. And I thought, well, the theme is greed. How would I represent it? So I thought, well, if I do an adult modern-day fairy tale and greed could take the form of a three-headed rock witch, for example, vanity could take the shape of a puppet queen that this witch creates, and then the hero is the little girl that crossed the River of Wishes, who can see only the good in things.
So the reality of this is you're creating movies for adults that are animated.
Yes.
Is this in the traditional sense of drawing, or has it now become totally computer generated?
Not at all. It'll be computer generated because that's, like it or not, that's what the audience has come to accept and digest the most directly. But there's ways to do CGI. So I'm going to make the CGI animation look like puppets. And there are going to be sequences within the story that are stop motion, like The Nightmare Before Christmas. And then combined with real puppetry. So the puppet queen is actually a puppet.
Okay, yep.
And I'll do miniature sets for that and employ a cinematic language that borrows its roots from theatre.
This sounds to me like it's taking up an awful lot of your time, like over a period, like years.
It's been 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. And now I have it, I've actually just translated it into words just now. So now,
Okay.
up until this point, it's all been driven by image,
Yep.
which I think is the most pure way of storytelling. So there's something like 5,000 images that I put on the wall and then assembled the story from that.
It's extraordinary when you think about it. Look, hold the thought, because there's somebody else I would like to introduce, who Dean knows extremely well, and we'll be back in a moment with Joy Taylor, Mrs. Taylor.
Welcome back to Our Time. Thank you for joining us.
And we now have another guest from the Taylor family, the lovely Joy.
Welcome, Joy.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Malcolm.
Joy, your life with an artist, were you artistic at the beginning?
I was Malcolm,
Fantastic.
and then I stopped drawing as soon as I saw what he did. No, seriously, because I used to draw a lot. All I ever wanted to do was be an animator for Walt Disney. That was from the time I was 12. And I drew every, Sleeping Beauty character, Snow White, whatever. Yeah. And then he comes along and I meet him and I'm there, I can never draw again. Because he really is, that good.
But you turned to other skills.
I did turn to other
Which
skills.
were?
I made children.
Yeah, well, you did, exactly.
I was very good at that.
Very
You
good.
had 3 children, or you have 3 children.
Yeah, we have 3
Just tell us
kids.
about your kids, before we talk about your real art form.
Yeah, they're all incredibly talented as well. Gypsy, who is our oldest one, who's nearly 40, believe it or not, she has worked on every major film as a costume designer, came straight out of NIDA and worked for Baz Luhrmann and Catherine Martin. She's just gone on. She's in Hollywood at the moment, worked with Shirley MacLaine, just worked with Shirley MacLaine on a film.
And
Yeah,
Eddie, your
she's
son?
Love
doing
Shirley
all these.
MacLaine.
She's doing all these incredible things.
Wow.
So we made her.
And Eddie, your son?
Eddie is at the moment on Aliens. He went to NIDA and he's been on Wolverine, Australia, Unbroken. He's
He's
on
a
about
senior
7
model maker.
Yeah, 7 films now, I think.
Wow.
Under his belt.
Amazing.
And now he's in the art department, so he's gone up again.
And your daughter, we actually have some photos of
Ginger.
your daughter
Yeah, Ginger.
here.
Yeah.
Ginger.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at these shots, because then you'll understand what Joy's absolute specialty has become. Because you've become...
That's my girl. That's our girl.
But that's
Ginger.
also your design.
It is.
And
yeah.
did you make that?
I didn't physically make it, but I designed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all based on 50s retro sort of thing. It kind of came around that it came back into fashion, and a lot of the rockabilly kids all loved it. And I thought, I'll start up and do my own thing 10 years ago. and it's really taken off.
And
So
you
you
never
have
stop.
do you have a studio then that you work from?
both Dean and I work from home,
Yeah.
and I have a studio downstairs, and he has the studio outside.
Out in the shed?
Yeah, I get
out
the
in
shed.
he gets the shed. I get the good bit.
Yeah, but it's a bit of an extraordinary shed, you must
It's
say.
pretty cool. We could
It's
be anywhere in the
excellent.
world. Yeah.
Because we've worked together and we've known each other for so many years,
We have.
your art and the two of you together with your family have virtually travelled all over the world,
Yeah, we've done
haven't
a
you?
lot.
And
yeah.
kept working. Was that the success of your marriage?
Yeah,
Definitely.
the idea that most of the time we're apart.
He's about to go away again, and I'm thinking, that's good, it's about time I need a break.
Well, now the
we
kids have
do
left
get on
home.
good because
Is it
of
the
that.
same?
Well, the general rule is if I go anywhere, I always put it in the contract. If it hits 6 weeks, then the family comes.
Oh, okay.
I'm the
So-
family now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
that-
we miss the kids, you know, we just miss the kids. I think most people do, but we get on great. You know, I'll text him and say, want a coffee? And head down the road and have a coffee. Or I don't feel like working today, so we go to the beach, because we both work for ourselves, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
get driven by task and not
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
It's
so
really important.
We probably work most weekends, but then we might take, like we took to
Yeah,
Yesterday
if
was
you're
Sunday.
if you're
We
ahead of
don't
what you're
even know
doing, you
what
just
day it is.
go do something else.
Yeah, so we kind
Wow.
of, and it's nice, and we get, we get along.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
we've never talked about marriage apart from us joking about us being married so many times. But we had Kim on the show recently,
My
Janice's husband, and
We worked at Channel 9.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
but in reality, you've had the best sort of marriage for your life
I think we have, yeah. It
in an
suits us
area
both.
that often people
Yeah.
really struggle, because anybody in the art world often isn't recognised until long after.
Yeah, it's true.
Um,
yeah.
With you take orders from all over the world, don't you?
I had a huge order from London years ago, and I hadn't taken into account the post, and so I broke even. But I filled a shop in London.
Oh, did
So
you?
that was great.
Wow.
Yeah, and I sell a lot to overseas. Yeah, mostly London, Germany, a bit to the States. It depends a lot on the dollar. If the dollar is strong overseas, I'll sell more.
But do you
obviously.
do a summer
Yeah.
season and a winter season, or is it
I
more?
don't. I don't
no.
actually. I just have what's on the website is, I have winter coats, velvet swing coats, and I have a few winter things, and then I have the bridal bridesmaids, and then your basic classic dresses. And I always stick with the classics that I know really suit the girls. So.
But you
So I
say
have
basic and classic, but it's really rock star and movie star kind of clothing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, it does.
Yeah, they're
That's
all
what
really
it looks
pretty.
like.
They're,
Yeah,
they're
absolutely
beautiful.
gorgeous.
And I sell a lot to restaurants in Sydney.
Oh, do
And I
you?
just did an opera actually here in Adelaide for Cloud Street.
Yeah.
Which
Oh, did
because
you?
they found me
Oh,
because I was a
fantastic.
50s retro label, and the girl came to me and said, "Would you like to, make all the frocks?" I'm there. Yes, I would, because it's what I do. So I just did that, and I just did Australia's Got Talent. I did a lot of stuff for them because they didn't have anyone here in Adelaide. So I made a dog's costume. I made this gorgeous mad woman's the dog trainer's outfit, and
Was that you?
that was
And the
me.
Andrews
Brilliant.
sisters.
Yeah, and the Andrews sisters who
Oh,
are here in
right.
Adelaide. The
How
Andrews
did you get the
sisters,
dog
yeah.
though? That's what I.
Oh, the dog was so gorgeous. I only had to make him a scarf. What did you say?
It's all right.
You said something
It
to
wouldn't
me.
sit still for the fittings.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Lots of smackos.
Do you think being a couple though, artistically, do you stimulate each other, or does it come from another place?
Yeah, I get sick of listening to him.
Yeah. So I have to kind of keep a lid on it, but
No kidding. I have heard the story of Jinko. I can recite it, but I love it. I love what he does. So and,
we support each other
we do.
and bounce ideas off each other, and it's like having an impartial, very educated opinion, and you're going
But
to
very
get the truth.
personal at the same time, because it'd be very
Yeah.
easy, to insult each other.
I quite often will say, he'll read me the script and I'll go, I didn't really like that bit. And then he'll go, well, that bit is like really, and I'll
She
go,
just
that's
doesn't
it.
get it
I'm
most of
never, I'm never saying my opinion again. So I just love everything now.
So what do you want to do in the future? Do you want to keep
Me?
doing what you're doing?
I love what I do. I love having the label, and the girls that come to the house. I just made the most beautiful retro wedding dress, and we were invited to the wedding on the weekend.
Oh,
So
lovely.
it was so beautiful. So I'll keep doing that.
But
as
you're
long as I
having
can.
real contact with
Yeah,
people,
I
whereas
am,
what's
yeah.
happening with Dean, it's all very much in your
His
head.
contact is with me.
Yeah. And then you're waiting for producers to say,
Yes,
give you the green light to
Yeah,
go ahead.
I live with fictitious characters the
Yeah.
entire time.
What do you call yourself now?
Animation director is probably the most accurate because I do direct and I do design and it is animation.
Okay, time flies when you're having fun,
know.
chatting with old friends.
Yeah, so lovely to see you both.
Great success with the show that you're working on.
Thank you.
And a whole lot more for you, Joy,
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
And you can see this episode again if you want, just by going to our Facebook page. Maybe not immediately, but in the next week or two, this program will come on YouTube. It comes up on Facebook
as well.
which directs you to which program you'd like to see, who's been on the show and so on. So until next time, keep yourself nice till we see you next.
Bye for now.